Welcome to the Power Through the Fourth Whistle Roller Derby podcast. This is Jackie Bauer. Thank you for joining me today on the path to becoming better athletes, teammates, leaders, and human beings. Everybody, I am just so freaking pumped right now. I am so lit up with energy and excitement. A little bit of relief. I'm relieved to have gotten through those last two very challenging episodes to talk about, where it was not so much happy fun time around here. And you could tell by the way I talked what a challenge it was, but it was a really important series of episodes to go through. And today we're moving on to some happy things. But before I get into that, let's talk a little bit about what's coming up here, because last weekend I got to go to a training clinic with Miracle Whips and Lacey Knight, and both of them sat down with me for a chat for the podcast. How cool is that, you guys? They were so nice, both of them. Very, very easy to talk to. I was a little bit of a spaz at times, but they were super cool. And this week's episode is the chat with Miracle Whips. Now, I Googled a little bit to figure out, are there any important accolades I should be talking about specifically for Miracle Whips? Well, really, she's won MVPs and stuff. She's on New Skids on the block for Montreal, which is a fantastic team. She's a jammer. She jams for Team Canada. She's amazing, but I don't think you need her resume, really, because I think this conversation is going to speak for itself. Meeting Miracle Whips, who has a great social media presence. If you don't follow her already, get on Facebook, get on Instagram, YouTube, whatever. She puts out some great videos, but also some great posts about mindset, about where she comes from, ideas she has. Funny story. One of my favorite quotes from her from the weekend was, she told me, in all seriousness, you should never tell people what to do. As she's telling me what to do. But really, what I love about Miracle Whips, about the times I've gotten to meet her, and this time in particular, because I got to spend more time with her, is she is one of the most unapologetically true to herself people I've ever met in my life. She is not afraid to be her. She is not afraid to care. She's not afraid to be passionate about her mission, her life, just going out there and being generally awesome. And that inspires me as an emotional person. I'm sure everyone, we're all emotional people. You can really latch onto that because it makes you want to be more free too. It really does. There's something I've noticed, a very common set of fears, 3 in particular, that I notice whenever someone tries to go out and do something really great. 3 types of fear that come up often. Fear of failure, fear of success. Yeah, that's a thing. People are afraid what'll happen when they actually reach their goal, and fear of what other people think of them. And I see it come up so often. And so some of these questions are things that we actually ended up talking about in our conversation. And I really loved her answers because it was the best approach I've ever heard to shedding yourself from these chains holding you down, these things holding you back. Why would these things matter to you? Let's get into this. A couple of the things I did find in my Google search was, I found her profile as a Rydell superstar. And her personal motto is skate with heart. No surprise there. And 3 words to describe her: intensity, heart, perseverance. That all definitely comes through in our talk. And fun facts that people didn't know about her: she's currently writing a novel about roller derby. I wish I had Googled in advance so I could have asked about it. Her first nickname was Peanut. And she's a big wrestling fan and would have wrestled herself if she didn't decide to skate instead. Why didn't I Google first, you guys? Why didn't I Google? We could have talked about wrestling. You know, from last week, I am also a fan of wrestling. That would have been so fun, but we'll have to save it for next time. So, without further ado, I'm going to take you into the chat I got to have with number 123, Miracle Whips. Today on the Power Through the Fourth Whistle Roller Derby podcast, we have another special guest, and it is Miracle Whips.
Hi.
So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Of course.
And you share a lot of awesome things on social media about mindset, about your approach to jamming, your approach to playing in general. So I kind of mostly want to dig into a lot of that fun stuff, like just how you approach things, because I think you have a really great perspective.
Thank you. I try to share a vision of motion with the people that are interested in learning. It goes beyond just the techniques themselves. There's common points to all of the techniques that I share. And my goal is just to help people be more independent, more leaders, right? Like develop their leadership skills through how powerful they feel when they're on their skates, when they move. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's kind of been my strong desire through my work so far.
Specifically, aggressive and elegant, I think, are two of the words you like. I remember taking that class at RollerCon.
Yeah, that's the sport. You have to be an elegant tank.
And you do a lot with comparing to, you use a lot of metaphors in your coaching. You bring in animals whenever you need to.
Mm-hmm. Nature, very inspired by nature, yeah.
Okay. And so when it comes to jamming, how do you approach the creativity aspect? Like just...
Well, that's a very interesting question. I see it as the space you should be in if you want to reinvent yourself. If you don't want to be easily guessed, like people are able to track your emotions really well because they can read your game, you must not be aware of your game yourself. So really you're supposed to be, if you want to do great jamming, you're supposed to be in a state of creativity. You're reinventing your emotions. You are acting above anything else. You're not reacting to the game, but you are making other people react to you. You don't know what you're gonna do next, but you just let things happen because you trust your sense for the game. You trust that you know how to move and you will find your feet no matter what situation you're in. So yeah, to me, creativity is jamming, really.
So just practicing all the things you can do over and over and over again, and then trusting your muscle memory, trusting what you've learned to just pull you out of situations.
Yeah, and trusting that purpose is what drives you. You have a job to do. Your team is counting on you to go and score points. Mm-hmm. And you know how much work they've put in. You know that they deserve to get the rank that is recognizing of that effort. So you have to perform. You cannot be weak. You cannot let your fears get in the way. You have to go out there and perform. You have to reinvent yourself every single time. Like it's quite the philosophy of jamming, really.
I think one of my favorite things I took away from your RollerCon class was you put something on the line for why you needed to get lead, and I believe it was a cat. The other team had your cat.
No, actually, what I said, I'm glad that you erased that from your memory because it's always a little sensitive. I said you need to move with purpose, right? You have a job to do, and to put you in the bat, to help you understand the purpose. I like to give an example to people. I like to tell them that something's awful is going to happen, like something awful. And because people are very sensitive to their pets, I tell them they're gonna hurt your cat. Like something's gonna happen to your cat. Yes. And all of a sudden they people sink in their bodies and they're so much more defensive and they will fight tooth and nails to get the job done because suddenly there's a purpose to why they fight. They're not just there because they practice twice a week for the last 6 years with the same people that they know, and there's no story, no there's nothing influencing, like nothing from the past, no fear influencing the way they move. They just have one purpose in mind, and they'll do anything it takes not to let that thing happen. And that's the sport, that's the game.
So when it comes to mindset, sometimes you don't win everyone, you don't win every jam. So what type of things do you do before games, during games, to pull yourself up again, pull yourself out if you start to feel yourself kind of going down, like a path with your brain that's not going to be helpful?
I hear you. Well, after, I'm a very emotional person, so after a lot of game experience, I realized that you have tremendous influence on people. It can be positive or negative. The way you process your emotions is gonna alter, is gonna affect how people process theirs. So to be aware of the messages I'm sending with my body, with my attitude, with my emotions, that's something that I try to keep in mind when I feel that I'm sinking. I try to make a true connection with someone to get whatever it is that's on my mind that's pulling me down. I usually go and reach for my most trusted teammates, right? My real friends outside of the game. And then there's this thing that I developed. I call it mental anchors. Every time I go do something very difficult, I work out, I go do something that I'm just not feeling like doing, yet I know it's going to, it's helpful for my goals. It's coherent with the objectives that I have for myself. I remember that I did. I remember that I was out there and I did what it took, and I didn't give up, and I was courageous, and I was, the person that I wanted to be in the moment. And all of these references, these anchors, they stack. And when you're in the middle of a jam and you lose perspective on what's happening, and you feel this fear, this discouragement, and you don't know how to pull yourself out, it's like remembering that you've put the work. You have all these anchors pulling you back to another reality, a space where you were doing what it takes. It kind of reminds you that you deserve to perform right now. So it sheds the fears, and in that state, you're not afraid of losing anymore. Nothing can really stop you. Like, you're gonna face whatever, and you will find your way out. And if you don't, if truly you've been bested, if you've been bested, that's okay. There's someone out there that had more than you had in the moment, and guess what? You're gonna learn from that experience, and you'll come back stronger. So there's no way you can lose anymore.
So the most important thing is just to remind yourself of all the work you have put in, and the person you can be out on the track when you really put your mind to it.
Well, you can be whatever you want. You're in a creative state. It's not about the baggage that you carry. It's not fear. It's nothing else than what you do. You are your actions. And in many ways, that's not how women have been raised. You are not your actions. Men are actions. Men do things, and that's how they prove their value. Women, we tend to be taught that it's about the way we look and what we can do for others. And it's never about like your power, if you will. And this sport opens this opportunity for us. So
do you think sometimes in this sport, even though we're aware of it, we kind of don't recognize people sometimes, as far as it's a team sport. We emphasize the teaminess of it. Do you feel like some people don't get recognized for their accomplishments because it's the focus on the team?
I do believe it's a thing. But I also think it's not necessarily wrong, in the sense where your biggest enemy in anything is your ego. So if teams are forbidding certain skaters from feeling a little bit too hot about themselves, right? Because it's a team effort. It's always a team effort. You got out, you got moves, you're a fantastic, agile, fit skater. Fantastic. If you didn't have that clear, if you didn't have a whole bunch of veterans before your generation to like pave the way so you can succeed, you're relying on so many people. You cannot feel too hot about yourself. And if on one side, I do think that, I don't know exactly how to describe it, I have to admit, but we tend to want to keep everyone at the same level, so if you're doing too well, it's almost taboo to mention it because we're kind of afraid of a surplus of ego. But at the same time, the threat is real. Like, people change when they're starting to feel a little bit too hot about themselves, and it's almost, you're satisfied with your present self, so you're not really looking to learn, you're not open to change anymore, so you stagnate. It's not a good thing for the team. So
it's a fine line because you don't want to be too up on yourself, and yet you really do have to have an ego to perform well too. If you have a lack of an ego, you're not going to have the confidence to go out there and do the things. So you have to find that middle ground where you can do really well but not go overboard with it.
But I just don't think, I think it's a matter of linguistics. I think that we're using ego as a synonym of a reason to fight. You need to have a reason to fight, for sure. That's where you're gonna get your confidence. It's purpose, right? We already discussed this a little bit. You need a reason to fight, but you need to understand that it's not about you. No one cares about you. It's not because you have the star, the pivot hat, or the latest skates, or your stats are really good, or whatever reason that fills you up with this vanity, this pride, this love for yourself, like misplaced love for yourself. It's what you can do for your team. People, when they aim at you, they're aiming at your team, and you cannot see it differently. People are relying on you to be open to do whatever it takes to serve the group. So I don't know, I kind of, yes, you ego in one sense is, it's I don't know, it's like an infinite topic. I'm really obsessed by it. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah. So we talked about what you do when you're down. You talked about how your emotions affect others on your team. I kind of want to take it back to one of my favorite games I've ever seen Montreal play. Montreal versus Bay Area.
Yes, I knew that was the one.
That is the one.
Yes, of course, yes.
That was so epic as far as I definitely saw that as an example where emotions affected the team. I definitely saw you in the moment in that game.
But it was channeled, it was fueled, and there was no space for thoughts. We were just acting. It was a very special moment. The entire game, it was like being on automatic pilot and getting fueled by the incredible energy that the crowd had. It was very special. Yeah,
it felt almost like a movie as far as just everything was finally coming together for you guys, and you had definitely earned your path there.
Yep, we proved that we were not a one-trick pony, that we had reached the maturity level as a team to deserve to be there, and to, once we kept on ascending, to hold their position. Because it's one thing to be the underdog, to just bite more and more, bigger bites every single time. But when you actually have something to lose, to be able to defend what you have and go get more, that means that as a group you reach a certain maturity level. And that game was a big milestone for us. Yeah, absolutely. Champs, we were due. It was our time, and we really wanted it.
How do you and your team deal with the new pressures and expectations of going from being the underdog to being, hey, we're a contender now? Has anything changed with the way you feel other people look at your team, or the way you look at yourselves? Is there more pressure when you go into a tournament, like, we're expected to do really well now, I hope we can do it? Or
No, but that's what I mean by a maturity level. You don't, if people have these thoughts, they don't let them to a certain degree, they don't let them be heard, because it does not matter what people may think, or what we may seem. And we know that it's related to work. We have something that is paying back for the effort and the energy we're putting in. We are getting results. And if in life you think that your efforts are going to pay off, anyone's gonna commit. And it's almost the purpose of our lives. We want to commit to things. We want to care. We want to care deeply. But this powerful desire to connect with each other, to create communities, and to build a common project with other people, it's kind of all been stripped by the power of money. There's a reason why people connect to each other now, and it's because, well, we're gonna get paid if we do. It's a lot of freedom, a lot of power that's being taken away because people trade it for, for money. And this experience, like the fact that now we are at a point where we are top 10 and we are holding our grounds and we are hungry for more, like it all makes sense because we know it's going to pay off. So yes, you're going to train more. Yes, you're going to sign up to like CrossFit style sessions and try cross training with kickboxing like many of my teammates are doing. And yes, I will be part of the training committee. And yes, I will be inviting people over so we can actually get to know each other better. And it's like everyone is putting so much more of themselves to the service of the group because it is now. Now is the time where it really matters that we do, and everyone wants to. There's nothing more rewarding than to ascend further. Like this culture that we have is solid. No one hates each other. We are proud of playing with each other. We love each other out there. And when we play opponents that are doing some kind of tricks with or against the rules, or like these things that we feel are not noble. Noble is a big word, but that's still what I mean though. Like it doesn't have a grasp on us because we are solid. The base is love. It took years and years to build, but Montreal's culture is strong, and I couldn't be more proud. And yeah, this season's going to be fantastic. I'm very, very confident about it.
This makes me really happy to hear because I feel too often, at least at the level I play at, that as soon as a team starts to do a little well, they start actually just getting more worried about falling down again, about what people will think of them if they didn't have a good recruitment and they're starting to go down.
But do you understand my obsession with ego now?
Yeah.
Like my interest for the team? Because to me, those are all like symptoms of the development of ego. When you start really caring about what people may think of you, it's not about you. No one cares about you. You will be forgotten. Your name, if your name is entertaining, it may be remembered, but people will remember the emotions that they felt watching you. If you did amazing things that made them feel alive inside, they'll never forget that moment. You and your name, no one cares. Those are the reasons why we should do what we do. If fear really doesn't have a place, it's the things I'm really focused on these days. The impact of fear and the development of ego as soon as you're starting to perform as an athlete.
Is there anything else that you feel passionate about that you wish you could share with the roller derby community? Things you see that you wish could be better, you wish athletes knew so that they didn't get bogged down by small things that shouldn't matter?
Find a purpose. Find the reasons why you do what you do. You need to fight for something. Maybe you grew in a world that you didn't quite fit in. Maybe you wish that you had more attention as a child. Maybe you took a whole bunch of decisions in your life that really didn't make much sense. And now you have a chance to redo yourself. You have a chance to develop a new identity for yourself based on your actions. This is what the sport is offering you. When you're out there and you're physically going through something difficult, mentally going through something difficult, you get to express your true self. What kind of person are you? You chicken out in front of difficult times? You give up on the people that supposedly you care about? Like, if you do all these things, it's okay. You know what? It's okay because you're in a development process. It's about being able to grow, and we don't have that many opportunities to do something for no other purpose than just, the experience, living something great. We're not getting paid to do this. Society tells us that we really shouldn't. It makes no sense. You're gonna enjoy yourself? Do you have insurance? Like, oh, your old bones, you're gonna suffer when you'll be old. And do you have enough time for your children? Like, there's so many reasons why everyone is telling us that this makes no sense. So there needs to be a reason why you fight. There needs to be a reason why you go. It's not just a hobby. If it was just a hobby, you would do pottery. You would do like, painting or whatever. There's so many options that are not as demanding as this weird, incredible sport that we do. So, yeah. Like, just, I don't know, find your purpose and seize the opportunities to reinvent yourself. That's the best that's the best end note I can find right now.
Okay, everybody, like, keep the timestamp on this episode. Whenever you need a pep talk from Miracle Whips, like, please come back to this episode, because I think we all need to hear this sometimes. That was pretty amazing. I'm so glad we had this conversation. It was pretty special. Where can people find you next?
All right. Well, after this pretty crazy weekend of training, next weekend the New Skids will be playing at the Big O. We are facing Denver and Rose City, as well as Sacramento and Eville. So that's going to be fun. And on a personal level, well, I have my training channel. I share videos, the tips and tricks and the things that inspire me through Facebook and Instagram. People can just look up my name, Miracle Whips. It's quite easy to find, really.
Everyone, you should already be following Miracle Whips. She makes really fun videos. It's good stuff. All right. Thanks again for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And we're back. Doesn't this just make you want to live every day with passion and energy? Like, seriously, I think I just need like a clip like that once in a while to remind me, yeah, it's okay to go out there and do your best. It's okay to go out there and put your heart into it. It's okay to it's okay to go out there and do amazing and be disappointed. That's all right. Like, we shouldn't let things hold us back from our full potential. And we really need to know why we're doing this sport. Why are you in roller derby? Why did you come in the first place? And why did you stay? What are you trying to achieve in your journey here? What is the thing you're going for? I'm so happy we got to have this chat, and I don't want to ruin it by, rambling on after the fact. Everything spoke for itself. I'm so happy you got to hear the chat. I hope you took awesome things away from it. So let's just quickly get to our little end of the podcast notes. Like, please, if you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts. We could be found on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, pretty much anywhere podcasts can be heard. Extra special thank yous this week to Rachel Leray, Derby Brains with a Z, Rochella DeVille, and M. McGowan for your reviews on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much. It really helps us get found. To E. McGowan, she recently fractured her sternum, and the last couple of episodes helped her as she's currently off skates right now and recovering. And man, I feel ya. I have been there. I feel ya. I feel that pain so much. And I really hope that you keep looking up in your derby journey right now as you recover. Things are going to be okay. You are going to get better. Everything is going to be amazing. And you just keep learning everything you can in the meantime and doing the things that you can do and you do have control over. And your derby career is going to be magical, amazing, everything you want it to be if you keep putting in the effort like you have been. And if you haven't left a review yet and maybe would like to, I'll totally shout you out. Just like open up the app and scroll down and punch those stars and just write a little something for me. I would love to hear what you think about the podcast, what episode you like best, like anything that gives me a little idea of what direction to keep going in. For you awesome people who listen, thank you, all you amazing human beings. If you haven't already, follow our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/powerthroughfourthwhistle. I put out a fun video this week. Oh my gosh. It's a very, very serious concern, you guys. The dangers of Velcro burn. A public service announcement. If you haven't seen it yet, please go to Facebook and check it out because it was so much fun to put together. My teammates are awesome for putting up with me and my silly ideas about what should go in the video. And don't forget to hit us up on Twitter and Instagram at Power4thWhistle. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor, email power4thwhistle@gmail.com or send us a DM on any of the social stuff. Links and handles can be found in the show notes. And next week is Lacey Night. Get hyped. It's going to be great. Thank you for listening today. We have been talking about Derby and sharing Derby thoughts. Pew, pew! That's right. I remembered to add the music again this week. So I can better send you the lasers of positivity. Pew, pew!